Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Luke, and thank you to Edie for organising this great day of events. Sorry, I can't be with you today. So my name is Nick Baker. I'm the Deputy Director for Engagement in the COP26 unit. And my team works with all the non-state actors on the build-up to COP and at COP. So all businesses, civil society organisations, cities, NGOs, faith organisations and youth organisations. So a very broad cross-section of stakeholders. And we work really closely together with the high-level champions team, Nigel Topping, who has a slightly separate mandate under the UN, but we're working very closely together on many of the same shared objectives and in the build-up to COP. So thank you very much for the invitation to come and speak. And sorry again that I can't be with you in person today, but I wanted to talk about what businesses can do to contribute towards success at COP26 and how businesses can get involved. And obviously, it doesn't all stop at the event itself, which is taking place in Glasgow, as you'll be aware, from the 31st of October through to the 12th of November. So why do we need to act, and why is COP26 so important? Well, I know many of you are climate leaders or leaders in taking climate action, so you'll be familiar with many of the arguments. But I mean, I think over the summer, the impacts have become all too apparent and very much in the here and now. So the effects of climate change are already here with us, whether it's floods in Europe or China, or wildfires elsewhere around the world, or huge storms. The effects are already here and they're impacting everyone, but particularly the most vulnerable. So, I mean, we have an excellent climate change agreement, the Paris Agreement, which aims to keep temperature rises, global temperature rises, to no more than 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels, and ideally 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. We now need to implement it, and there has been a huge amount of progress, but unfortunately, we're not on track yet. So we all need to work together to be able to deliver on the ambitions that were set out in the Paris Agreement. And that is very much our concept for COP26, is that we need to bring everyone together to work together to achieve those ambitions. And that means businesses working together with governments, with civil society organizations, NGOs, academia, youth organizations, cities, regions, and many, many others. Those organizations that my team works with. And we really need everyone to work together to step up the implementation of the Paris Agreement to be able to deliver on its ambition. And businesses have a really key role to play. I mean, much of the action that is needed is going to be taken and delivered and is being by businesses. And often, I think people relate much better to the tangible, concrete actions that businesses are taking, whether it's building new offshore wind farms or manufacturing electric vehicles, than they do to the less tangible commitments taken by governments in the form of nationally determined contributions. So businesses have a really key role to play. There has been progress, as I said. The UK, fortunately, has the G7 presidency as well as the presidency of COP26 this year. And our partners, the Italian government, who we are working on and delivering COP26, also are holding the G20 presidency, which has meant that we can really focus action on climate change through a number of international fora. And back in June, we had some really great commitments coming from G7 countries at the G7, new finance commitments from Japan, from Germany, from Canada, and then at the UN General Assembly from the US as well. Again, in New York at the UN General Assembly, China made a commitment to stop building new coal power stations abroad, which was great. That's real progress. However, not enough is being done. We're still behind. There was a series of reports published over the summer that showed that we're not yet on track to deliver those targets in the Paris Agreement of 2 degrees and 1.5 respectively. There was the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change published its report. The UN published its report on synthesizing all the contributions by governments, so nationally determined contributions, adding them all up and showing that even with all the new commitments being made, we're still not on track to meet the Paris Agreement's ambitions. And on the business side, I'll come on to the race to zero in a bit, but there have been a huge number of signatories to the race to zero, with over 4,000 businesses now being members, as well as many cities, so over nearly 800 cities being members, 220 of the largest investors around the world also being race to zero members. So a lot of progress being made, but we're still not on track. So what action can businesses take? So we've been throughout the run up to our presidency, and I should say that the UK only starts our presidency of COP on the first day of COP26, and then it lasts for the duration until the next COP, which is likely to be towards the end of next year. So our presidency will last a year, and it starts at the beginning of COP26. But throughout the build up to that, over the last year and a half to 2 years that we've been preparing for this huge big summit, which will be the biggest summit, the international summit that the UK has ever held, we've been calling on businesses to make commitments to reach net zero by 2050 or earlier. Ideally, halving emissions by 2030, because we really need to bring action forward and make it as soon as possible. To sign up to science-based targets as a way of measuring their progress towards their net zero targets. And these are independently assessed and monitored. And to publish a short to medium term plan of 5 to 10 years of how they're going to deliver on their net zero targets. And if they do all that, then they're more or less eligible to join the Race to Zero, which is a campaign that was launched by Nigel Topping, the high-level champion who I referred to earlier, in June last year. And as I said, there's been a huge amount of progress with lots and lots of businesses, cities, universities, and others joining the Race to Zero since it was launched in June last year. And it's a great way of being able to measure progress. It simplifies many of the climate initiatives and brings them all under one umbrella to make it easier for companies and others to know this is what we do, and we have to sign up to the Race to Zero. So there's been a huge sense of momentum, I think, over the course of the last year with the launch of that campaign. We've tried to build momentum into this year of our presidency with holding a Climate Ambition Summit, which was a virtual summit back in December last year to mark the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, provide an opportunity for governments to come forward with new, more ambitious, nationally determined contributions, and for non-state actors, including businesses, to say what commitments they were making towards tackling climate change as well. And that provided a great launch pad for this year of our presidency and building commitments up to COP26. So I've set out the core things of what we're asking businesses to commit to. At COP, we are aiming to achieve 4 goals. The first one of these is mitigation, is keeping this target of 1.5 alive, so that the Paris Agreement's goal of 1.5 degrees temperature rise above pre-industrial levels, keeping that alive. So that means new, more ambitious, nationally determined contributions from governments, and more ambitious net zero commitments from companies and others. Our second goal is to protect people and nature. So with the impacts of climate change all too apparent, those who are most vulnerable need to be protected from its impacts, but we also need to prepare our resilience as well, build our resilience to the impacts of climate change, whether it's early warning systems for storms, whether it's flood defenses or others. Our third goal is finance, to be able to deliver both on mitigation, on reducing emissions, and on building our resilience. We need much more climate finance and for it to be more accessible. So there is a pre-existing commitment of an international commitment of $100 billion a year, which we haven't been meeting. So one of our key goals for our presidency at COP26 is to deliver on that commitment and make that climate finance both meet the target, but also make it accessible. And our fourth and final goal is to accelerate, turbocharge collaboration. As I said at the beginning, to really deliver on the Paris Agreement, we all need to work together across sectors and internationally. And part of that involves delivering on the Paris rulebook, finalizing the last articles that weren't agreed in Paris. And that includes Article 6, for example. So they are our four key goals that we're looking to achieve at COP26 and through our presidency. We've been working also on 5 campaign themes to help deliver those goals, many of which overlap with the goals, but on mitigation, focusing on clean transport, so principally the uptake of electric vehicles, road vehicles. And there we're promoting an initiative called EV100, where businesses and others can sign up and commit to making 100% of their vehicle fleets electric. Secondly is the power transition. So mainly the move away from coal and dropping coal as a form of power or energy production. And there we're encouraging both countries and businesses to sign up to the Powering Past Coal Alliance, but also increasing the uptake in renewable energy. So increasing the adoption of renewable energy sources and signing up to an initiative called RE100, again, where companies can commit to making 100% of their energy sourced from renewable sources. The third theme is adaptation and resilience, which I talked about through the goals. The fourth theme is finance, likewise, which forms one of our goals. And the fifth is nature, where we're looking to reduce the impacts of deforestation, reduce deforestation itself, and principally looking at the impacts of 5 big commodities on deforestation and ways of farming or producing those commodities more sustainably. So soya, palm oil, beef, cocoa, and coffee. And businesses can have a huge impact by not only making sure that their own actions are kind of delivering on climate action, but also encouraging action through their supply chain with their trade associations, with business partners, encouraging their employees to take climate action, and encouraging their customers to think about the climate as well. So companies have a huge role to play and masses of influence. In terms of the event itself and how businesses can get involved, you will have seen that we've published on our website, the COP26 website, an overview of the programme for the 2 weeks. We'll be setting out more detail on that very shortly. But essentially, the first 2 days of the 2 weeks are dedicated to the World Leaders Summit, the world leaders coming from all around the world and meeting in Glasgow. On the 3rd of November, we'll have a day dedicated to finance, the 4th to energy, the 5th to youth and public empowerment, the 6th to nature. On the 8th, we'll have a day focused on adaptation and resilience, the 9th on gender and science, and on the 10th, transport, and the 11th, cities and regions and the built environment. Now, we'll have businesses featured throughout the programme in all the different spaces of the event. We ran an expression of interest which closed back in March, and we had nearly 4,000 applicants for space within the UK government's managed spaces at COP. So masses of demand, and we haven't been able to deliver what everyone wanted or bid for. But we will have we will be promoting what the private sector, what businesses are doing to tackle climate change throughout the agenda. There are also a large number of fringe events planned in and around Glasgow during the course of the event. What you can do is either take further ambitious commitments, or, being leaders yourselves, encourage other companies that you work with to do likewise, both in the short remaining time that we've got up until COP26 and during the course of the event as well. Promote what you're doing to tackle climate change. I think people really need to have a sense of momentum that things are being done. I think often people have a sense of that we aren't able to meet this challenge, but if we show that action is being taken, it will give a sense of hope and a sense that this is achievable. And as I said at the beginning, I mean, action doesn't stop at COP26, and nor does our presidency. So we'll be wanting to promote what companies are doing throughout the course of the coming year. And really, action needs to continue beyond COP26. Obviously, climate change does not stop at the event itself. So I think that's it from me. I hope the rest of the day and the workshops and your discussions are all really productive. I know that following my talk, there'll be a panel discussion, and Bridget Jackson will be on that from the High Level Champions team, who, as I said, we work really closely with. And you've got Sam Lux from Bays from our business engagement team. So I'm sorry I can't be with you today in person, but I hope you have a great event and look forward to hearing all about it. Thank you very much.